Go ahead and find a comfortable seat. For people that might be wearing bracelets or rings or watches or necklaces, I'm going to invite you to just try to see what this practice will be like without them if they come off. We're going to be talking about energy and the way energy is felt in the body and how we release blockages of energy through our breath in different ways. So if you have anything that's circular, sometimes that can inhibit energy flow. So if you have anything, if you're comfortable taking it off, I invite you to do that. And then find a comfortable seat. Sitting up tall, allow the eyes to close once you're comfortable. And then take a nice deep inhale. And sigh it out. And letting yourself arrive into the space in your room, on your mat, and in your body. Take a few moments to check in with your surroundings. Notice what might become a distraction and allow that to be part of the experience today. And then check in mentally and physically. Scanning of the body, acknowledging those physical sensations. And then start to tune into the energy of your body. Maybe your mental energy, your physical energy. Just kind of notice where you are. Do you feel like you have high energy? Are you coming down off of a very busy day? Have you been less active today and are feeling a little more lethargic or relaxed? And just notice it. No judging. No criticizing. Just bringing awareness to where you are now. Starting to settle in on an intention for your practice today. If you'd like a little help finding an intention, it could be upon your awareness of your energy, the awareness of your breath, the awareness of your body here in this space. Something that allows you to really attach to the present moment. If you haven't already, I invite you to play any background music that you would like to. Otherwise, it'll be silent. We'll have a little bit of talking here and there, but I'm going to try to keep it to a minimum so you can drop into the sensations of your body today. Just start to drop into the sensation of your breath. In yoga, our prana, our energy, is fueled with that breath. Just kind of notice what it feels like to breathe here. Notice the different sensations on the inhales versus the exhales. Start to let yourself acknowledge the energy flow of the breath into the body and out of the body. Just notice what kind of quality of energy it brings to your body. You may not sense it straight away. It may take a while throughout the practice. It may not happen at all. So don't get caught up on if you can or can't feel it, but just notice the breath. Taking an inhale here. And let it go. As you let it go, let your eyes open, keeping that sensation of energy within you. We're going to slowly transition into shoelace pose. So that's kind of like Gomukhasana legs. You have options. I always like to sit up on something, a pillow or a blanket, and having one of the corners toward the front helps. You're going to have your left leg on top. So you have options of right leg under, left leg on top. The knees may or may not stack. Eventually, that's kind of where you're going. You might need props under your bottom knee. It might even feel better to keep your bottom leg straight. So go into and start to settle into that pose, taking the first few moments of this pose to settle in, check in, acknowledge where you might need extra support. And then reminding ourselves of our 3 principles. Once you've found that edge, so that stretch to where you're not going too much, to where you can hold, pause there. And then we're going to settle into stillness. You can allow the eyes to close again to settle into that stillness and into the energy that's being created here. And then we'll hold for time. We're going to hold this pose for 5 minutes in our legs. There'll be a couple options for your arms or your side waist if you'd like to take them a little bit later. But settling in here. So if once you're settled in here and there's no edge in those hips, so our target area is your outer hips, maybe even into the low back. If you don't have those sensations, you can start to lean forward over the legs. Maybe hands reach a little bit forward for support. Just a reminder, there should be no stabbing, tingling, or numbness in the knees. You want to keep that sensation in the target area of the hips. And then tap back into that sensations of your breath and the energy that's happening. Is there a different sensation on your inhales in the target area of the hips than on the inhales or on the exhales? Just noticing where you feel that energy in your body, where you feel it flow, where you feel that sensation be able to move, and where you feel it might feel stuck, where it feels super tight. And just notice. Can you notice where you might be holding any muscle energy, and can you relax those, especially your glutes, your booty? Can you relax that a little bit? You have the option to stay here if this is feeling good, maybe go a little bit deeper into the target area of the hips, or working a little bit into the spine. Maybe lift yourself up a little bit and start to rotate toward the left. So maybe you're more upright to the left, hand on your knee, maybe right and left hand's behind you. Maybe you're more folded over a little bit for the twist. So wherever your edge is going to be, finding a little bit of a twist to the left. Still creating and feeling that energy in the target of the legs, but just changing the energy a little bit to the sensations along the spine, into the mid and upper back. And again, you have the option, you can stay here with the twist, or you want to go a little bit more into the sideways. You're going to slowly come up to center. Taking that right hand by your side, start to walk the left hand over to the left, leaning over to the left. Maybe your elbow comes down onto a block or a bolster. And then you have options for that right hand. That right hand can stay bound by your side. It can go back behind you, back of the hand to the low back. Or maybe it drapes over the top of the head, getting into the sideways. So you have options for that right hand. Just kind of notice where the energy flows here, where it gets stuck, where you find tightness. You can always drop your left ear to that bottom shoulder, dropping it down toward the floor if that feels better for your head and neck. About 30 more seconds here. Ever so slowly, make your way back up to seated. Pause there for a moment. We're going to transition from this pose into another pose before repeating the other side. You're going to take that left leg, draw it into your chest, bring it out to the side, and just pause there. Both knees on the ground, just pause. Notice the sensations, get a little internal rotation for that leg. And then we're going to transition into swan, which is similar to pigeon. I'm going to show you straight on to begin so you can see the knee. What you're going to do is you're going to take your knee and you're going to drop right underneath you so you're sitting on your heel. If this is okay for your knee, great. If it's not okay for your knee, take some padding or bolsters and prop it up underneath your hips so you're sitting on that instead of on your heel. Right, so you want to sit, so this should be a target of the upper thigh, right, not the knee. So doing what you need to, I'm going to show you now from the side, settle in. So we won't be here as long because these are a little bit more energy poses. Hands flat on the ground, maybe on a bolster, but we're targeting here that front thigh, the back thigh, and then a little bit into the low back because we're going to keep our chest up. And then just settle in here. Good. Try to relax the back leg. Again, if you need anything up underneath those sit bones, you can do that. We will do the reclining version, I promise. And for people that maybe want to go a little bit deeper, keeping the chest up, maybe you want to go deeper into the hip. If it's okay to come off that heel and bring the leg out to the side a little bit toward the right, you can do that to target down into the hip a little bit more. So target areas, the hips, the low back, maybe even that ankle, depending on how it's feeling. And then either staying here, if this is feeling good, we're gonna go into screaming swan. Not a very nice name, I know. But you're gonna bend that back knee. And then see if it's okay to grab it with either your right or your left hand, grabbing onto that foot and pulling that foot toward your body. So again, a little bit more of a dynamic pose, so we won't be here long. And just notice how the quality of your breath might have changed. Notice how the energy might have changed. I tend to grab with my right hand because I feel like I have more support with my left hand. By reaching with that one, I feel my right knee gets in the way if I grab with the left hand. So you have options for either hand. Another deep inhale here. And then slowly release that down. Bring the hands back. This is where we get to lay down into sleeping swan. So if you need to adjust that upper thigh any little bit, remember you're going to just send the hips back first. Maybe it's onto a cushion. And then if it feels okay, bring those elbows forward. Maybe arms forward. Maybe your head rests on a block or a bolster. And settle in here. Remember, we're not getting into the sensation of the knee, but there might be a little bit there. No stabbing or numbness. Really letting ourselves relax into this pose. Maybe even relax the shoulders. Let those shoulder blades draw toward one another. And maybe let the head drop down, chin toward chest. And if it ever is feeling too much on that front knee, too much pressure, you always can lift your hips up so more of the weight goes into the bolster or the blanket or the pillow before your knee. Tune back into the energy of your breath. Notice how the energy is different maybe on the inhales and the exhales. And can you find stillness? You have about 1 more minute in this pose. If you're feeling this is too much for you, you can always come out and come up to seated or lay on your back. Taking a deep inhale here. And let it go. Slowly making your way up. You have options. You can lay on your belly. You can lay on your back. You can take that back leg, bring it forward, and just sit for a moment. Pausing there. Extending the legs out. It would feel better to do a downward facing dog. You can do that. That's an easier transition out of the pose. Just pause for a moment. Notice the quality of the rebound of the pose, the energy flowing through that right leg. And if it feels good, taking any movements that feel good, maybe pointing and flexing the feet, maybe rocking the legs inside and out, whatever's going to feel best for your body here. Maybe it's sometimes just sitting in stillness. And then as you're ready, start to transition back to shoelace pose, that second side. Moving slowly and mindfully, noticing the energy in the body. This time your right leg will be on top. Again, remember your sides aren't going to be the same. This side might be feeling a little different. You're placing something under your hips, place it right at the sit bone so you have space for your legs. And then just check in with how that's feeling. And then once you're at your edge, find some stillness, whatever your edge might be. Can you relax your legs? Sometimes I don't know if I'm holding energy in my legs. What I like to do is I like to energize my legs, squeeze my muscles, and then let them relax so I know that they're relaxed. Sometimes it's hard to feel that for me. Just settling into that stillness, closing the eyes if it feels okay, and start to tap into that energy. Sometimes we have some blockages in our body and different movements or holding of poses. Helps to release those energy blocks. We're allowing your breath to notice where the energy flows, where the sensations feel more intense. And see if you can use that breath to direct that sensation to lessen. You have the option to stay here or even go deeper and just stay with the legs. Or you can start to add in a little bit of the spine and start to rotate yourself toward the right, toward that top leg. Finding a little bit of a twist, try to keep your hips level, just rotating from the upper back. And then once you found that twist, pause. Notice the sensations. Notice if you've started to grip energetically with your legs and try to relax that. And tap back into your breath. And you can either stay here or transition into that little side bend. Taking that left hand down by the side, walk the right arm out and start to bend into the elbow. Maybe you rest it on a bolster or a block. And again, that left hand can slide behind you for a little shoulder stretch, or it can reach up and over the top of your head. And then your head can drop down toward that bottom shoulder. Whatever is going to feel best in your body. Tapping in here, back into the breath, into the energy of that breath. Moving with intention, slowly, mindfully bring yourself back up to center if you're not there already. Pausing there for a moment. And then once again, we're going to transition. So slowly first draw that top leg in and just bring it off to the side and pause. Just notice how that feels. That release of the hip. And then we're going to transition into that Swan Pose. So the first part, you're going to be sitting on your heel. So your knees straight forward, sitting on your heel or on a bolster. I find that having the bolster on the inside of my leg helps alleviate that pressure. And extend that right leg back. So your left knee's forward. And then pause there. Coming upright a little bit with the chest. So again, now the target's going to be a little bit more into the low back, into the hips. See if you can relax that back leg. Tune into your breath. Again, we won't be here very long. We'll save that for the sleeping swan. Then again, you can stay here if this is feeling good, or you can start to bend into that back knee and reaching back with either your right or your left hand, grabbing onto the foot, and just drawing that foot toward, toward your low back as you keep lifting the chest. Finding a little resistance there. And again, this is a little bit more active pose, but it's good to get into the front of the thigh. Gets a little bit deeper into the low back as well. And just notice the quality of your breath. Notice how it's changed. Notice the change of any energy flow in the body. Try to continue to breathe deep. And if you have the back foot, go ahead and release it. We're going to transition into sleeping swan, so adjust anything you need to with that front leg. Maybe draw the heel more toward the right. Send the hips back. And then come down to the elbows. Pause there for a moment. And again, this is where I like to energize my legs. I like to press down and then relax everything. So I can really just feel everything relax. If it's comfortable, maybe you rest your head on a block or a bolster or your hands, or you start to drop the chest forward. Relaxing the shoulders, the jaw, and tuning into those sensations in that left hip. And when we talk about energy flows and releasing those blockages, in the Chinese medicine or the Daoist traditions, they consider 4 different ways of releasing energy blocks. One is through acupuncture, so the use of needles, where a specialist does that. But the next 3 ways, we have that ability with us through our yoga practice, specifically the yoga practice of Yin Yoga. So we have acupressure, so we're pressing on the meridian lines, these different lines of energy that run through our body, through putting ourselves in positions like this to release blockages. We have the breath. We use our breath to release blockages. And then we have directed awareness. So when you feel where something is tight or something feels blocked, if you can direct your attention to that area, And kind of imagine that area becoming more unblocked, unstuck, a little less tight. Sometimes that helps release that blockage of energy. Those are the 4 different ways that we can use. 3 of them specific to yoga practices, which is nice. We have about 1 more minute here. And again, if at any time this becomes too much, you can always come back up to seated. Take a nice full inhale here. And let it go. Slowly and mindfully make your way up. Moving slowly, rolling toward that left side, bringing that right leg forward. Unless it's easier to transition out into downward dog, you can do that. Coming up and sitting, pausing for a moment, noticing the effects of the pose. If it feels good to take any movements, please do take a few moments here. From here, we're going to come into a forward fold. You have the option, if it feels better to keep your legs more narrow, caterpillar pose, you can do that. If it would feel better to make your legs wider, going into straddle pose, you have that as an option. You have even anywhere in between. So make sure that your sit bones or your pelvis is tilted forward more. If you need to get that to happen, you can sit up on something, you can bend your knees. I find in this pose, especially when I keep my legs closer, I like to place something under the backs of my knees so they're not pressing down so hard. I find that bothers my joints. And then once you're there, just start to round forward. So again, target area, the back, the spine, all the way maybe even into the neck if it's okay for you to release the head down. If you feel like you need support under your head, a block, a bolster, maybe even your hands supporting your head. Let's see if you can relax the legs. Feeling that target stretch along the spine. And you might feel some in the hamstrings, but try not to hold on energetically. And then tap into your breath again. Settling in for stillness. And using your breath to notice where you might feel some blockages, some tightness. And see if you can use that directed awareness, using your breath to help release any blockages you feel. When your mind wanders, continue to tap into the flow of your breath, noticing and playing with the edge of the stretch or the edge of the pose. About 1 more minute here. Taking a full inhale here. And let it go. Very slowly, maybe take even 3 or 4 breaths to do so. Come up. Pausing there. Ooh. And then as you're ready, we're going to transition onto our backs. Once you're on your back, just bend your knees and pause there. Notice how it feels like to be on your back. Once you're on your back, just pause a few moments. If there's any motions you might want to take, maybe windshield wiper the legs or lift the hips up to find a little extension in the hips, please do so. And from here, we're going to transition into happy baby. If happy baby on the ground isn't going to work so much for your hips, you can go next to a wall. You can do a reclined figure 4 instead, a little bit more of the pigeon pose. Otherwise, just start to draw your knees into your chest and wrap your hands just around the backs of your thighs to begin. So this could be your happy baby, if this feels good for you. If you want to go a little bit deeper, feet go up to the ceiling, knees go a little bit wider, maybe grabbing onto the ankles, maybe to the heels on the inside, or the pinky edges on the outside. Just dropping down here. If you find that your head kind of lifts up and you're struggling to hold, just place something underneath your upper back and your head so that you can relax your neck. And then settle in here. So our target is our hips here. It might even be a little bit into the spine of the low back, kind of like that forward fold we did. We've done this before in class, so at any time you need an off-ramp, it'll be reclined Baddha Konasana or reclined butterfly pose. That's going to be our off-ramp for everyone eventually. But if this ever feels like it's too much for your hips or your knees, you can just go right into that reclined butterfly pose and pause there. People feel like they need more of an edge, they can draw their knees even wider and use the weight of their arms to draw the knees down closer to the floor. That's a way of getting a deeper edge. As much as you can, try to relax the shoulders and jaw. And then tap back into your breath as you settle deeper into stillness. Can you tap into the energy of your breath? Directing that breath to where you feel any tightness or blocking. And really settle into that stillness. About 1 more minute here. Taking a deep inhale here. And let it go. Releasing those feet. And then start to draw the heels toward the bum. And then bringing the feet to the floor. So knees are going to stay wide if that's okay. If it's going to be too much for you to recline with your knees wide, bring your knees to the ceiling. And you can take your hands, make them fists, and draw them underneath your hips to give yourself a little bit support if that's too much on the inner groin. Just be here for a short time. Releasing through the back first. Checking in with the energy flow of the breath. And then slowly start to bring those knees back up to center. Pause there for a moment. Maybe give a little tilt of the pelvis forward and backward, so pressing the low back down and then arching the low back. Lengthening the tailbone and then curling it up. Maybe even windshield wiper those legs, find a little internal and external rotation for the thighs. And take a moment and extend the legs long. Pause there for a moment or two in a little mini Shavasana. We have one more pose here. A twist for the spine. Also still targeting the hips. I'm going to guide you through twisted root, which is legs crossed. If that doesn't work for you, you have a simple 2 legs together, knees together twist, or one knee going over and one leg straight. Go ahead and bend those knees again. So if you're going into the twisted root, or if you're going into one leg or 2 legs, shift your hips first. If you're going into any other variation, drop your knees to the left. Right leg's going to come over the left. Maybe it tucks behind that left calf. It does not have to. And then drop the knees to the left. Again, notice the sensation that's going to occur there on that outer hip. Use any props you need to if it's too intense of a stretch, either on that top hip or on that top knee. Sometimes the pressure of the bottom knee pressing into the top knee can be a little much, so you might need a prop underneath that right calf or the calf that's closer to the floor. And then hands, you can either rest your hands on your chest and belly to feel the expansion of your breath, Or you can take the arms out wide like cactus. Whatever's going to feel best for you. Know there's going to be a little bit more sensation if your arms are like cactus in that top shoulder, that right shoulder. And then tap back into the quality of your breath. Notice the energy in the body. Notice where that energy might feel like it gets stopped. Then use your breath, use that directed awareness to help unblock that area any little bit. About 1 more minute here. Taking a full inhale here. And let it go. Slowly and mindfully start to bring yourself out of the twist. Bringing the hips back to neutral. Pause there with your knees bent for a moment. And take any movements that you feel you might need, maybe legs straight, maybe a little rolling of the ankles, whatever feels best to you. Take a couple moments to feel the effects of that side of the pose before we go into the second side. And then we'll transition to the second side. Shift your hips over to the left first. And then whatever variation you're going into, if you're with me, crossing the left leg over the right, maybe that foot tucks under the calf, it does not have to. And then the knees drop to the right. And again, deciding where your arms need to be, deciding what type of support your legs need to feel that sensation in the connective tissues rather than in the muscles. Decide what you're going to do with your arms, what feels best for them, and then maybe even what feels good with the neck. And then start to settle into stillness, using that directed awareness, noticing where the energy flows freely and where it feels a little stuck. I mentioned a little bit earlier about acupressure and even acupuncture with the needles. Stimulates the meridian lines in the body, and those are energy channels, areas where energy flows through the body. And there are very, very many of them. I don't even know how many there are, but there are 6 main ones that are usually affected through yoga poses. I'm going to go into those a little bit more deeply in our future Yin sessions. But just knowing these meridian lines have a little bit of a connection with the science of the body, the structure of the body. In our body, our big muscles are bound by this connective tissue called fascia. And usually where the muscles connect toward one another, like you have 4 muscles, say in your quadriceps in the front of your thigh, and each of those is bundled with this fascia. And then where those muscles meet is considered a line of a meridian. A meridian might run along that connective tissue of the fascia. So by allowing ourselves to stretch and manipulate and to get into that tissue, that connective tissue, it helps stimulate these meridian lines, these energy lines. So we'll go a little bit more into those and what the benefit of those meridian lines being stimulated to unblock their energy or help energy move more freely through those as we continue these Yin sessions. Tapping into your own energy of your breath and the awareness of where you're feeling that energy flow and where you're feeling it feel a little bit more congested or tight. About 1 more minute here. Taking a full inhale here. And let it go. Slowly make your way back up with the legs. Moving mindfully and slowly, no rush. Bring those hips back to center. And pause there. And taking any movements that you need to release that pose, to feel the effects of the pose. And start to think about what you might need today and when it comes in terms of Shavasana, to that final resting position today. Maybe you need some more support under your low back, maybe your neck, maybe the backs of your knees. And as you're ready, slowly start to transition into Shavasana, lengthening those legs out. Removing anything from underneath the back of your head, unless you're placing a pillow there to support the neck and the head a little bit more. And then taking your arms in any shape that are going to feel good today so that you can rest. And let yourself just surrender into relaxation. Just take a few deep breaths here, maybe 5 or 6 deep breaths. Noticing the air enter and go down into the body. Noticing if you can breathe and direct that awareness down to the toes. And on your exhale, see if you can notice that air either leaving the top of your head or through your nostrils. Just notice if you can feel your body fill up with air and then deflate as the air leaves. Leaving yourself feeling more relaxed with each exhale, with each passing breath. Take maybe 1 or 2 more rounds of deep breaths. Those deep guided breaths. And after your last exhale of a deep breath, just allow your breath to come back to normal. Start to settle in here to the energy of your body. Noticing those areas of the body that are talking to you a little bit more, that have a little bit more sensation from the poses we did. Maybe your spine, your hips, your knees or ankles. And just allow yourself to direct your awareness to those areas. Just notice those sensations. Really allowing your body to turn on the energy. Maybe you can start to feel that energy flow in your body. Continue to stay here with that energy, with your breath, for a few minutes of silence in Shavasana. I'll bring us out to end our practice with 3 bells. Take rest. Start to allow your breath to come in a little deeper. You're always more than welcome to stay here if this is feeling good. We are going to transition into a little bit of seated, directed awareness, a little bit of a meditation. You can always do it on your back too if this is feeling good. And on your next breath, just start to bring some movement into the fingers and toes, wrists and ankles. And taking a nice long stretch all the way from your fingertips to your feet. Maybe even a big yawn. And then start to bend the knees. Hug those knees into the chest, maybe make little circles with the hips, with the low back. Just bringing some circulation back to the body. And then check in with your energy level and check in with what you might have planned. If you feel like you want to keep this energy, you're going to roll to your right side so that your left nostril is on top. If you feel like you need a little bit more energy, you're going to roll to your left side so that your right nostril is on top. And just pause there. Use that bottom arm as a pillow. Check in. Notice the energy in the body. And then as you're ready, mindfully press yourself up to seated. Supporting yourself with any props that you need to when you come to seated. Sitting any way that's comfortable for you. And then allow the eyes to close again. Hands are just going to rest on your thighs. And start to tap into the quality of your breath again. Tapping into the energy of the body. Acknowledging the energy levels now compared to the beginning of class. Noticing what parts of the body might have more energy. Feel more relaxed. Maybe there's just a general hum of energy throughout the entire body. Start to tune into your breath. Notice the sensation at the tip of the nose as you inhale and exhale. And keeping that directed awareness at the tip of the nose and on the breath. And notice if you can sense the air entering, maybe coming down into the lungs and back out. Can you feel that energy of breath as it enters and leaves through the nose? And either staying with that simple inhale and exhale, or maybe start to direct the awareness of the breath. Can you notice the inside, the inner part of your nostril as you breathe? Can you bring awareness to that and feel as if the air is coming along the inside of your nostril, that inner part, your septum, and down into the lungs and back out. And can you direct your awareness so that you feel the air coming around the outer edge of the nostril, on that inner edge, to the outside of your nose, as the air in that outer edge of the nose and leaves the same space, feeling that sensation of the nose. And returning once again to feeling the air come in the nose, feeling the whole nostril, right and left side on the inhales and the exhales. Taking a deep inhale. Sigh it out the mouth, let that go. Bring your hands in front of your heart center or cupping your heart. Pausing there for a moment. Thanking yourself for showing up to your mat. Taking time for yourself today to do this practice, this slower practice, this inward practice. Noticing your energy. And then take a moment, think of one thing in your life that you truly are grateful for. Hold on to that image in your mind's eye as you raise your head with a smile. Thank you for joining me, taking time for yourself. Have a great evening. Drink lots of water, eat your veggies, wear some sunblock tomorrow. Namaste.